Here we are, the last of the PS1 games, at least for the main series. I do want to look at games like Survivor and such. But for now, it's time to talk about Resident Evil 3, Nemesis. This is probably my favorite of the originals. If RE2 was the point where the series got action-packed in terms of story, RE3 was the point where the gameplay started to follow suit. With a handful of new mechanics and ideas, some of which have sadly never come back to my knowledge, RE3 has got a lot going on. But of course, we gotta start with that story. "24 hours prior to the events of Resident Evil 2, former STARS member Jill Valentine attempts to escape from Raccoon City. Jill runs into Brad, returning from the first game, only to be killed off 5 minutes into the game. This is the Nemesis, a bioorganic weapon programmed to target the surviving STARS members that witnessed Umbrella's experiments back in the mansion. As she escapes Nemesis, Jill encounters 3 surviving members of the Umbrella Biohazard Countermeasure Service, or UBCS, because god dang. Those 3 members are Carlos Oliveira, an injured Mikhail Victor, and Nikolai Vinoview. Nikolai explains that a rescue helicopter can be contacted if they manage to reach the city's clock tower and ring the bell. Their plan is to use a cable car to get them there, but it requires some replacement parts. Jill, Carlos, and Nikolai split up to track down the needed parts. While running around the city, Jill runs into Nikolai, moments after killing a UBCS member who was about to turn. A bunch of zombies swarm the building and Nikolai disappears in the chaos. With the parts in hand, Jill gets back to the cable car, and with the 2 remaining UBCS members in tow, they start on their way to the clock tower. But, before they can get far, Nemesis breaks into the cable car and corners everyone. Mikhail sacrifices himself with a grenade, causing the cable car to crash into the tower's main courtyard and separating Jill and Carlos briefly. At the clock tower, Jill rings the bell, summoning the helicopter, and just when it seems like this game was going to end after 2 major set pieces, Nemesis shows up and trolls Jill by destroying the helicopter. Not only that, but in the resulting fight, Nemesis infects Jill with the T-virus. Jill manages to fight off Nemesis, but eventually falls unconscious. Carlos finds Jill and takes her to safety within the clock tower. 3 days pass, and after searching in the Raccoon City hospital, Carlos finds a cure and returns to Jill, saving her. She regains consciousness, and Jill decides to look for another way out, heading towards Raccoon Park and running into Nikolai again, who reveals that he was sent into Raccoon City to gather combat data on Umbrella's bioweapons. A mutated millipede interrupts the 2, however, and Nikolai retreats in response. Jill defeats the Gravedigger and escapes to an abandoned factory, which happens to be a lab, because every Resident Evil game has to have a lab. While traversing the factory, Jill meets up with Carlos, who tells her that the US government is planning to launch a nuclear missile into Raccoon City to get rid of the T-virus once and for all. After confronting Nemesis and grabbing a keycard needed to escape, Jill finds out that the missile attack on Raccoon City has begun, with only minutes before Raccoon City is wiped off the map. Depending on a dumb choice that changes this part for some reason, Nikolai at this point will either attempt to start a gunfight with Jill, only to be taken by surprise by Nemesis, or hijack the escape chopper, and you must choose to either reason with Nikolai or destroy the copter. If Jill tries to reason with Nikolai, he takes a second to boast about how he not only killed the other supervisors sent to collect data, but he's also going to take glee in collecting a bounty placed on Jill by Umbrella. And that is when you reload your save, pick the other choice, bust out the rocket launcher, and blow his smug face up to Kingdom Come. Either way, Jill makes her way to the helipad, but on the way there runs into Nemesis in a mutated state for the final showdown. After blowing Nemesis up the smithereens with a prototype railgun that was just hanging out in his basement, Jill meets up with Carlos, and depending on that dumb choice from earlier, they either escape the city via the escape chopper, or they're saved by good old Barry Burton in his helicopter. The missile then hits, putting an end to the Raccoon City incident. Third verse, same as the first, but this time around we got a bunch more mechanics to make up for it. This is the game to include quick turning, where you can easily perform a 180 when needed. Not only that, but we now have other ways to defend ourselves. If you're cornered by enemies, you can push them away, giving you time to escape or to keep shooting. You can now shoot at things like oil drums in the environment, and lastly, if you press R1 or R2 or the X button while you're aiming before the enemy attacks you, then you can dodge their attacks. It's precise and a bit hard to get down, but it's a great way to save on using healing items. Besides the mobility upgrade, the game also starts you off with the reloading tool. This gives you the ability to create ammo in exchange for different types or combinations of gunpowder. You find gunpowder all over the place instead of ammo drops, and it's up to you to figure out what you need or want to use. Creating handgun ammo and shotgun shells numerous times will allow you to create enhanced rounds. You get less bullets in return, but more powerful bullets as a result. Quite a lot of stuff, but you're gonna need it, as the main threat this time around is Nemesis. At multiple points in the game, you will encounter him. A lot of these encounters are optional, and you can avoid him outright, but if you do end up fighting him during these optional encounters, then you will be rewarded for your troubles. Beating him the first 2 times will net you the Eagle parts, which can be used to make the Eagle pistol, which is faster and has an increased chance to headshot zombies. Beating him a 3rd time will net you a first aid spray box to keep any extras in one place. Beating him a 4th and 5th time will net you the M37 parts, used to make the Western Custom, a close-range but powerful shotgun that unfortunately can't use enhanced shells to make it absolutely broken. Beating him the 6th time will get you another first aid spray box, and finally, beating him the 7th time will net you the Assault Rifle. But if you beat Nemesis 7 times on a New Game Plus playthrough, then you will get the Infinite Bullets, an item that can give any weapon it's combined with infinite ammo. The last addition to the gameplay is the live selection mechanic. During certain points in the game, Jill will be put in a situation, and you will have 2 options on how to solve it. Depending on which option you pick, it can either have an effect on puzzles, the area you're currently in, if you'll get an item from Nemesis without having to fight him, or in the case of the Raccoon Park live selection, you determine what version of the ending you get. Really, it's just the game's way of having the slight differences thing without having you play as an entirely new character to get it. Though the fact that your ending changes slightly due to one choice is still weird to me. And of course, the last thing to point out is what you get for beating the game. Beating the game will get you the Boutique Key, where depending on what difficulty you beat the game on, you'll get access to a variety of costumes. If you beat the game on easy mode, you get Jill's RE1 costume and a costume where she dresses up as Regina from Dino Crisis. Beat the game on hard mode with an A rank and you'll get a biker costume, a policewoman outfit, and a disco outfit complete with platform shoes. But that's not all. Beating the game will get you an epilogue file that details what a bunch of plot relevant characters were doing during or after the Raccoon City incident. You get an epilogue file after each playthrough, and there are 8 in all. With the internet though, you can just see all of these without playing the game 8 times. They're a pretty cool novelty if you're a Resident Evil fan, but I can understand if you don't like Resident Evil 3 that much to actually get them legitimately. Lastly, for completing the game once on any mode, you unlock the Mercenaries, Operation Mad Jackal. In Mad Jackal, you can play as Carlos, Mikhail, or Nikolai, and you're tasked with reaching the warehouse on the other side of town before a bomb implanted in your chest detonates. You start off with 2 minutes but can gain more time by killing enemies or dodging attacks. Doing either of these multiple times in quick succession will start a combo, which multiplies the time you receive in return. There are no ammo drops lying around, nor do they drop from enemies yet. But if you explore the city and find civilians in need of help, you can kill all the zombies in the room and save them, which will net you 20 more seconds on the clock and ammo or first aid spray to help you on your way. Even with this, ammo is still scarce, so make sure you don't run out, because Nemesis also appears in this mode and he can end a run real quick if you aren't prepared. After you die or reach the end, you are graded and given money depending on how many enemies you killed, and it is here where you can buy some extra goodies for the main game. An assault rifle with infinite ammo, the Gatling gun, the infinite rocket launcher, and the most expensive item, infinite ammo for every weapon in the game. Now this is more like it. It's not the full arcade-esque fun fest just yet, but this mode is still really fun to play through. Carlos and Mikhail are normally my go-tos with their nice array of weapons, but I'm not nearly good enough at this game to play as Nikolai. He's the character for experts, honestly. Armed with a pistol with no extra ammo, a knife, and 3 first aid sprays. He'll most likely never be short on time, seeing as killing with his knife natively has a ×8 time multiplier, meaning that just killing normal zombies gets you 24 seconds. The problem comes down to just surviving. You absolutely had to master the mechanics with this guy, or your runs aren't going far anytime soon. I legitimately recommend looking up people who are professionals with Nikolai. It is absolutely insane to watch. Another game, another good soundtrack. There are some returning tracks from RE2, but the original tracks more than make up for it. Obviously, we need to bring up Nemesis' theme. An unstoppable Nemesis. But besides that, there's the City of Ruin. Free from Fear. Missile approaching. And the Doomed City. Guys, I know I'm stupid and can't describe things better than a middle schooler, but Resident Evil 3 is a really great game. Being the last main series game on PS1, it was expected for Capcom to go out with a bang, but god dang, man. This game came out in 1999, a year before the PS2 came out, and with this game being so late in the PS1's lifespan, it was able to do a bit more in the technical department. A lot more zombies can appear on screen, enemies can move on stairs, and you yourself can just walk upstairs without having to push a button. It's detail and charm that's appreciated, and not only that, it enhances the gameplay by keeping the pace going, or keeping players on their toes. The name of the game is survival after all. I mean, yes, the name of the game is actually Resident Evil 3 Nemesis, but bear with me here, my 5 brain cells are onto something. With the game's new combat and mobility options, the ammo crafting mechanic, and the good pacing throughout a little over 3-hour adventure, RE3 is a game with tons of replay value, whether you're doing challenge runs with certain guns, checking out the differences for each life selection choice, or just wanting to 100% the game. The hard to master but incredibly satisfying gameplay is just a joy to play. This, to me, is the pinnacle of classic Resident Evil's gameplay. The mobility, the array of weapons, the risk versus reward system with Nemesis, the fact that I can combo dodge hunter attacks and blast them right in their stupid faces. It's just amazing, and I can't stress that enough. But now, we're going to the big one. The one that changed the series forever. Resident Evil 4. I'll see you guys next week for the last video for Month of Resident Evil 2018.
Can't escape from crossing fate. Fight!
Stars.